I got Wendy Williams boobs right now. They're
That's definitely going in the podcast. I really don't have any comment beyond that. I just don't even know how to address you throwing your gigantic quadruple G Wendy Williams boobs in my face in the podcast. Yeah, Titty Tuesday was yesterday.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is D Knight.
This is Ty.
Carol is busy having a freak off at the moment. She's using up the 1,000 bottles of lube seized by the feds, and you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast. No, she's actually she's being mom right this second. She may be joining us later. Fingers crossed. I always enjoy Carol's company. But again, so it's been one of those wild and wacky weeks. It's nearly unbelievable the amount of insanity that takes place from week to week. It's almost difficult to keep track of, and I am someone who attempts to do their best to kind of wrap my head around every single development if possible. But yesterday, so Trump was at some kind of town hall meeting / rally where he appears to continue to be butthurt over Kamala Harris destroying him at the debate. And claiming that his rallies are a dumpster fire and that people are constantly leaving. It was clearly on his mind. He could not stop thinking about it. And even at the rally, he could not stop talking about it. Couldn't stop. Couldn't help.
She said, I don't think I've ever said this before. So we do these rallies. They're massive rallies. Everybody stays till the end, by the way. You know, when she said that, well, your rallies, people leave. Honestly, nobody does. And if I saw them leaving, I'd say, and ladies and gentlemen, make America great again. And I'd get the hell out, okay? Because I don't want people leaving. But I do have to say,
if you may have noticed there, Ozempic was trending yesterday, and that was because Sarah Huckabee Sanders. But no, he went on to ramble about the thing he does so there is this technique in public speaking where you take these various seemingly unrelated topics that have these nuanced points and you weave them throughout a conversation or a speech. And then at the end, you find a way to tie them all together. Well, Trump just rambles. He doesn't actually weave anything together, and there is no nuance. It's a bunch of dumb fuckery. But yes, it's in the weave. It's also extraordinarily ironic that he was saying that because not long after he was making those comments about how no one ever leaves his rallies, people
were leaving his rallies.
Yeah, they were leaving his rallies. In the middle of his speech, they're like, we are getting the fuck out of here. And I can't blame them. As Kamala Harris pointed out, people should actually attend these things or at least watch the broadcast.
Watch it. You will be bored to death.
Well, if you've never seen a Trump rally, actually you will be horrified because they are quite disastrous. He says a number of insane things at these rallies. But the way the press typically tends to cover these is they'll be like, Trump holds a rally, fans have whatever support. Yeah. And then like they ignore the actual content of the rallies where he says rather insane shit. I mean, yeah, exactly. So today is Wednesday as we're recording this, and this rally contained a number of insane comments, and we will give you an example here.
and God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you.
Is that a new hair?
Not once, but twice. And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again.
I think that's hairspray. And also, what kind of God saves you but kills your supporters?
And kills children.
That too. Right. Yes. And what kind of God, supports the person who's responsible for multiple bomb threats?
Republican God.
Shutting down a city.
White Jesus.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's
Republican.
probably. Yes, I agree with you. That might be the guy that he's referring to, the white guy, the god of racism and bigotry and oppression and
Yes.
such. But apart from just random insanity that Trump spews at his rallies, he also says, well, just extraordinarily stupid, like this.
Patriotic New Yorkers must get your asses out to vote. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Harry, get up, Harry. Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're gonna vote for Trump today, Harry.
Harry is a figurative example, just ambiguous general name that he uses to refer to the average. But yes, a person the size and weight and composition physically of Trump calling another person fat ass, that is just completely outrageous. It's totally unacceptable. Like,
irony is dead.
Yeah, I mean,
he dug it up.
Yeah, whatever your sensitivity about, whatever your sensitivity about making fat jokes, like, okay, that's fine. But the last possible thing we can have is someone gigantic, obese, and round calling someone else fat ass. It's totally unacceptable, dude. It's just totally out of line. But apart from the stupidity, we also have numerous examples of Trump's cognitive decline and his inability to just pronounce simple, straightforward words.
The biggest site anywhere in the world, probably bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And what did they do?
Oh, he was also talking about Bagram Air Base there, where he was saying it was in Alaska and it's probably bigger than, what did he say, Iraq, Iran, one of those.
I can't with this motherfucking fool.
I'm 100.
I cannot.
I'm 100% convinced that he's never looked at a map, right? Because like yesterday, he was saying that global warming is awesome for Michigan because it'll create more seaside property. What sea? Do you know where Michigan is? What are we talking about here? What is going on?
He doesn't know where he is.
Yeah, that's entirely likely. Yeah, I don't understand. Also, Russia is an extraordinarily complicated, multi-syllabic word that he was having difficulty pronouncing. But that's not. It's two syllables. But also, he was having difficulty pronouncing another simple word that's in these days. I mean, apparently, multiple individuals are having difficulty with this word. But I'll let you hear it for yourselves.
Illegal migrants, and they're not getting it from the
migrants there. And that reminds me that we also had what's his name? God damn, I forgot his name. Is it Ralph? I don't know. I forgot his name already. That's so bad. All right, what's the guy's name that went on Megyn Kelly's show and was talking about the migrant? Okay. So not Ralph, but Ryan Lowry. Yes. So Ryan Lowry,
the N-word guy,
went on Megyn Kelly's show the other day, and in a conversation where he was talking about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, he referred to them as N-words with the hard R. Like he literally said it.
He just misspoke, D.
Yeah, he now after the fact, he was saying on Twitter that he was trying to say he was trying to say migrants, conflated that with the word immigrants, I would imagine, and then because of the hard and soft eyes in there, he got confused and said the wrong word. Now, I will say the actual issue there is that neither immigrants nor migrants start with the letter N. And
I played David, I didn't say anything. I go, tell me what you hear. And
he heard it.
That clip, and David goes, whoa!
Yeah, it's crazy. It was the SpongeBob meme with the black dude and they've got the screen on the side and it's just got N words, and he's just sitting there looking like, yeah.
And
then,
of course, Megyn fight back, didn't say anything.
yeah. So more and more importantly, again, to address his explanation, not only do migrants or immigrants not start with N, they do not end with iggers. But yes, Megyn Kelly also just sat there kind of in silent endorsement. They try to just roll past it and pretend like no one would ever notice. I believe later after it was posted, she tried to have the video taken down, but it was too late. But like, get these dudes out of here. I mean,
fuck that bitch.
And if you're wondering why in 2024 we're still dealing with issues of racism and white supremacy and misogyny, it's because largely, and I know that, white men typically are the individuals responsible for perpetuating this, but that too many white women sit in silent endorsement is why we continue to have the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. And with that said, fuck those guys, Lowry and Megyn Kelly, both just total disasters. I don't even understand.
Fuck Megyn,
please. Well,
fuck
Megyn Kelly with Diddy's dick.
You know what? And we on the left, we went to her defense after what happened with her interview with Trump, and then she was like,
wait, who was we? Because I didn't.
What?
I know what you're saying. I'm joking.
As a woman, I watched the movie. God, I can't remember the name right now.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about with the Fox News and how everybody over there is rapey and
I was a staunch defender of her as a woman and what she, regardless of if I agree with her politics, ideology, whatever, but as a woman.
No, I'm with you there. Just because someone on occasion is the bad messenger doesn't necessarily mean their message is always discredited. But continue.
So to see her, what she is doing now, I'm like, bitch, I fucking spoke up and spoke out for you. I can't even she's doing the most right now, and it is so fucking gross. But
well, she is a version of the very same monsters that Bombshell was about. So it's difficult to defend her in that regard because she's not any better, just different. Again, look, I don't want anyone to be sexually harassed or assaulted or, have things held over you in terms of it, furthering your career, just because the people in control of an operation are men and you're a woman. I don't approve of that, but also fuck Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really not. Apart from that, also we had another instance of just Trump making ridiculous admissions during his rallies, which if you watched a number of them, he tends to do. But at least, this one's not criminal. It's just criminally stupid, where he's talking about the book that his wife wrote. By the way, where is Melania?
Right? Go out and get a book. She just wrote a book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great.
Yes, extraordinarily funny. And he's telling a crowd of supporters.
Yeah, no, we're not buying that book.
Well, no. And then in the middle of endorsing his wife's book, he's like, I didn't read it, but go get it.
I didn't read it, but you should read it.
You guys should pick it up. Yeah, go ahead and get that thing. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's extraordinarily funny too because you probably read Laura Loomer's book. She might have two books. I would suggest if you are able to read, which I assume that if you're not a Trump supporter and you're listening to this podcast, that you at least have the 5th grade reading ability required to read a Laura Loomer book. But even if you do possess that ability, I would suggest you still steer clear of that. But speaking of harrowing experiences at the hands of extraordinarily wealthy and powerful men, you may or may not have noticed that the other day, Diddy, also known as P. Diddy, also known as Puffy, also known as Puff Daddy, also known once upon a time as Love. There was a short stint with that particular alias. Originally born as Sean Combs, he was arrested by federal agents in New York.
I love that for him.
Thanks to the Southern District of
Yes.
New York and their investigation, along with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. And well, first of all, let's get to the press conference between the AUSA.
Oh, damn. That guy, and he with a straight face.
Yes, he did. Here he is.
As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches.
We also have a clip.
That he said freak offs with a straight fucking face.
If you've read the indictment, which I suggest you do, it's about 14 pages long, but it's really closer to 12 in terms of content. They reference the word freak offs multiple times.
He was serious about his shit. When he was like, I'm the freak offs.
Absolutely. We have yet another video of him, the evidence that they seized at Diddy's raid.
As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there.
All right, so no one in America gives a fuck about guns. That's the country we live in, but it is extraordinarily ironic that the individual who was snooping around Trump's golf course the other day, who was arrested, was also filing the serial numbers off of his assault-styled rifles. But so where I'd like to start here, first of all, is just if you read the indictment, and I'll sum it up generally speaking, there are charges of sex trafficking, possession of illegal firearms, and racketeering, which includes a number of instances of Diddy and his associates engage. I'm turning to Trump now. I can't talk. Associates engaging in numerous illegal acts, and then once you have, a number of acts establishing that this was some kind of organized entity engaging in these criminal activities, you're eligible for racketeering charge. And just long story short, if you would like our legal expertise on the likelihood of Diddy's success in fighting these charges, Diddy is fucked. He is fucked like one of these freak off parties. Now,
I love that for him.
It's exciting. Happy to see him go to jail. Now, look, so the content of the activity that Diddy was engaged in is extraordinarily dark. We're aware of that. It's extraordinarily serious, and we just wanted to give you a graphic nature or graphic content warning before we even go down that path. And us specifically, we're going to try and veer away from the darkness as much as possible. We understand the serious nature of this, but also we can't afford to be emotionally distraught by diving into the dark depths of this any more than I would imagine the audience can, but we'll try and tackle it in a way that we at least can be respectful of the victims, but also just address how fucking ridiculous all of this is. So what Diddy was doing, according to law enforcement and Cassie, his former girlfriend, former singer. So he would host these parties. They would engage in numerous sex acts, but where the illegality comes in is Diddy Diddy and his cohorts would recruit these young women and fly them across the country, crossing state lines, coerce them into performing sex acts, would pump them full of drugs to keep them compliant and also engaged with the activities, and would also afterwards he would video record these parties as they were ongoing, and he would take these videos and use them to blackmail the women into not going to law enforcement and continuing to engage in these parties. He would coerce them with means, financial, career-wise.
Diddy is a fucking
scumbag.
He is.
Hate this guy.
Fucking worst. And as a survivor of domestic violence and sexual
perfect time to have the hiccups, Ty.
sexual assault, like, it was so triggering to me to read his indictment, but even more so Cassie's accounting. Cassie, but her accounting of what she experienced. And
yeah, it was rough. So before you break down, I'll try and veer us away from this as soon as possible, because I've not been a victim of any kind of sexual assault or sexual abuse, and it was extraordinarily difficult for me. So Diddy would corral these girls and rope them into this behavior, and then pressure them, blackmail them, or physically abuse them, or verbally abuse them, or threaten them into continuing to engage in these illicit acts. Now, generally speaking, I personally don't have any issue with what, sexual activities people are involved in. If you're a man and you enjoy having sexual relationships with numerous women, or men for that matter, more power to you. Same if you're a woman, if you enjoy sleeping with multiple men, even at the same time, or even women for that matter, more power to you. I'm all rooting for that. Do what you got to do. Like, life is short, YOLO, get your shit off. The issue I have is that everyone involved needs to give their consent. And typically the women involved, not necessarily all of them, but many of them involved, were not, for various reasons, whether through coercion or blackmail or just being drugged, were not able to give their consent, or potentially underage, allegedly. We don't know necessarily if any of the women involved were underage, but it's a possibility. Obviously, if you're under the age of 18, generally speaking, in terms of federal law, you can't give your consent. So that's where the sex trafficking comes in, coercing women and flying them across state lines. It's generally where the feds get involved. And from what I understand, I would imagine this investigation has been going on for a couple of years minimum at this point. Obviously, we had Cassie file a lawsuit that made a bunch of these allegations public initially. Diddy immediately settled that like a day after the lawsuit was filed. We also had an incident where in a hotel, it appears as though there was video of Cassie fleeing a hotel room in which Diddy was present. She made it all the way down the hall to the elevator, shoeless. So she was fleeing under duress. And Diddy made his way down the hallway in a towel and proceeded to physically assault her. It's extraordinarily disgusting. I think we've aired it previously on the podcast. We won't be doing so today. It's extraordinarily graphic. You don't have to watch it, but it does exist. And, if you choose to watch it, it's pretty tough. It's gross for a number of reasons, not just the extraordinarily violent nature of the physical assault, but I think what I found noteworthy about watching it was Cassie's reaction. like once Diddy ran down the hall and caught her, and get this, like she's fully clothed. He's got one hand free basically because he's holding up his towel with the other one because he doesn't have on any clothes. And as opposed to fighting back as someone would typically do in a stressful situation where you have like heightened adrenaline and whatnot, a fight or flight response, she neither fought nor fled. She kind of just gave up like a, yeah, I know it was tough. You know, and I don't want to compare Cassie to a dog in the sense that like it has nothing to do with any kind of, you know, gender associations you might have with that comparison. But you know how like if you have a dog and it's been caged and it's been beaten and abused, to a point, at some point, you no longer need the cage. Right? You can let the dog out of the cage. The dog isn't going to do anything. It's not going to fight. It's not going to bark. It's not going to bite. And if you strike it again, it will just roll over and give up. And that's what Cassie did. And that suggests a long-term pattern of physical abuse, in terms of directed at her by Diddy. It was gross. It was tough. Tore me up. But moving on from kind of like the general, like obviously it's extraordinarily dark, but bigger picture. So one of the things that was probably noteworthy if you were reading the indictment is it wasn't extraordinarily clear on times, dates, names of individuals involved in this activity, procuring drugs and procuring girls and organizing these parties and whatnot. But you can imagine with the way they worded the indictment and the way they referenced the fact that, you know, Diddy was basically using his companies were doubling as like legit businesses, but also his employees were like on the side arranging all of these activities in order to take advantage of these women and probably men. Like I'm not necessarily sure on how many of the victims, the unwilling participants were male or female. It's not really clear in that regard. But I think if you would imagine, the Southern District of New York spent a few years building this case, but Diddy is the only one indicted with charges of racketeering, and they're referencing his interactions with numerous people that he was basically in control of. I would imagine a number of those individuals are likely either cooperating or they're targets of the investigation, which the U.S. attorney for the Southern District did note that the investigation was ongoing in both terms of Diddy and his associates, and then more charges could follow. So be on the lookout for that. But I clearly think, you know, just given the nature of Cassie's suit against Diddy, that she's likely been cooperating at least for some time, if not possibly the individual who sparked the investigation in the first place. And there's a bunch of crazy shit in some of the allegations she made. So you may remember once upon a time, Cassie had a brief romantic interest in an artist, Kid Cudi. Well,
that shit is wild.
It's wild.
Fuck to me.
So
yeah.
So Diddy has a jealous streak, obviously. But upon hearing of this romantic interest in Kid Cudi, there was an incident where Kid Cudi's car exploded, and it is allegedly, well, Diddy allegedly is involved in the placing of a car bomb on Kid Cudi's car and caused it to explode. It's fucking bananas. Like, this dude is running around like the mob, dog. He's like blowing up cars and beating people and got the AKs and the tug. Is wild. It's bananas, man.
I am putting a bomb and blowing up a motherfucker. Like, I can't even wrap my head around that shit. Like,
yeah, like, you know, you and me, we might, well, I don't know how you roll, because you might know some dudes, but like, if I want to, like, you know, if I'm having an issue with someone and it's going to result in some violence, maybe I got a couple guys I can call to like show up at your spot and like kick your ass. Maybe. Yeah. I ain't got nobody that knows how to procure a car bomb, install it on your vehicle, and remote detonate it or attach the wires to your door sensor so that when you get in the car, it explodes. I mean, this is just, this is wild shit, man. This is beyond bonkers. But
For real. Like, really, it is. Like, fucking all the way fucking live. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. It's extraordinarily, it's wild. But if you think about other instances in Diddy's past that kind of show that he does indeed have a jealous streak. There was a shooting in 1999 where an artist of Diddy's was involved. Shine. Yeah. So I guess to rewind even further on that story. So Diddy once upon a time dated J-Lo. I guess, what celebrity hasn't at this point? No offense, J-Lo. I mean, like, again, as I said earlier, true. I approve. Facts. Like, J-Lo, get your shit off. Yeah, anyway, so upon their breakup, Diddy released not one but two breakup songs, which doesn't necessarily equate to kind of violent, jealous behavior. I mean, maybe if you listen to one of them songs, you have some questions. But I believe I can't remember where they were. Was it in Manhattan? Might have been Brooklyn.
It wasn't. It was in the city.
Well, it was in New York City, and there were rumors of Diddy's involvement in that, but eventually, police arrested and convicted Shine, one of his artists, in that shooting. And if he
took that L for,
it is not uncommon for situations with extraordinarily powerful people involved in criminal activity for people lower down the totem pole to basically take the fall. There's like literally a term for it. It's called a fall guy. It's for a reason. So, just given what we know about Diddy's behavior now, looking back retrospectively, it's not difficult to infer that actually Diddy was likely responsible for that, if not directly, indirectly. And just in terms of like all this fucking ridiculous ass behavior, like that we're now currently aware about, it draws a lot of questions about numerous things in Diddy's past, that it just ain't a good look, dog. So if you're not aware of what I'm alluding to here, there have been numerous rumors over the course of the past couple of decades of Diddy's involvement in the deaths of both Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G., considering they had a fairly infamous rap beef in the mid-90s that resulted in both the deaths of the two of them.
Two of the most iconic fucking lyricists ever.
Yeah, they're my guys. I am more of a Tupac fan than a Biggie fan, but that's not about lyrical ability. That is just because, I have an emotional attachment to the one and not the other. But so if you're listening to this and you're unaware, clearly I'm black. If you could imagine what kind of music I guess if you want to stereotype the kind of music you imagine that I listen to, that's the type of music that I listen to. And I've been listening to it for a long time.
You know what? Most people probably would not, as I am all of that all fucking day. And, Tupac, he was so profound. And, Jada Pinkett bailed him out. Fucking, which a lot of people don't know about. Like, she was ride or fucking die.
Nah, she loved that dude. Jada Pinkett Smith, for the record, will still readily speak about her infatuation and love for Tupac Shakur, even though she's currently married to Will Smith. And anyway, we all know what's been going on with Will Smith. This ain't a podcast.
Slap like a motherfucker. He can slap.
You can imagine with everything that Will Smith's been going through and given some of the insecurities he might have about his relationship with his wife. And not that I'm condoning this, but I'm saying, given all of that, you might could understand, if you know all of the relevant information, how Will Smith ended up at the Oscars on the stage slapping the shit out of Chris Rock. It's a lot there. Like that would
my mama's name out your motherfucking mouth.
Yes. And look, and that's not the first. Like, so Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett, all friends, numerous interactions over the course of the years. Like, it didn't just come out of nowhere, but we don't have time to do that. We're doing something totally different here. But so yes, I love hip hop music. Tupac's my guy. Used to listen to him as a kid. But that aside, with what we know about Diddy's behavior over the course of the past, 15 years or so, if you just go back another 10 years, you could draw a straight line from Tupac Biggie to, all of this weird behavior with the sex parties and using the video to blackmail women and possibly other attendees to keep them quiet, car bombs all the way to now. You can draw a straight line